Masterclass, we have all the action from the first major clay event of the year, the Essex Masters. Sun's out, guns and buns out. Andrew Venables shows us how not to shoot off sticks. Plus King and Countryside. Deborah marks the coronation with a look at Charles's relationship with hunting, shooting and fishing. And Ian Hodge is casting his eye over high-performance hardware. We have news and hunting YouTube, and as we hit show 701, he finally lets me present one. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain.
Spring is here, and for clay shooters that can only mean one thing, the Essex Masters. It's the first big sporting clay competition of the year and the one everyone would love to win. Here's AAA shooter Phil Gray.
It's the biggest entry shoot in the UK. John always does a good thing. Prize money's good. And it's the start of the clay shooting season, really. It's not a CPSA major, but everyone looks at it like a major, and it's kind of nice to know where you stand. Start of the year, and it's a good one to hit the ground running if you manage to win it.
The Masters regularly attracts more than 2,000 shooters to test their skill against 200 notoriously tricky targets set by John Dyson. Neville J from Essex Gun has been involved with the shoot since it was set up more than 20 years ago.
Yeah, John's the master at putting clay shoots on, so he gets this together every year. Everybody seems to enjoy it. People keep coming back. It must be good. So he's got a way of making targets look like you can't miss them, and they're a lot more difficult than they appear to be. But that's the clever bit with using speed and backgrounds, and it's just good. The organisation that he puts into it, the amount of people that he involves in it is huge. And we're very proud to have sponsors every year. Like this year we've got Caesar Guarini, we've got Game Ball. It's, it all helps. And not only that, we try and raise a few quid for the kiddies charity every year for the kiddies hospice, and we manage to do that and top it up a little bit for them. So
There are two courses, black and red, each consisting of 100 targets over 13 stands. Most people shoot one course in the morning and the other in the afternoon, making it a grueling 200 bird day. But that isn't always the case. Shooting coach Max Tarr has travelled up from Bristol, and after his experience last year, he's taking a different approach.
Yes, because last year we felt it was a little bit rushed, as I thought, actually, let's go and have a more of an enjoyable day. Let's relax, shoot the red course on the first day, black course on the Sunday, and then just hopefully split it up in between and make more of an adventure with it, really. We shot very well last year, but hopefully I was going to make this year even better, but unfortunately that hasn't happened, but maybe next year, I think. All I want to do is beat last year's score. Considering last year was the first year, if I can put in a reasonable score this year, I will beat that score. And you know what? I think that'll be enough for this year. This is only the first big competition of the year, and it's nice to be out in the sun rather than being cold and in jeans and big thick jackets as well. So hopefully this will be the start of something good this year. I shoot a Browning XS Pro of the Crown Edition, which I bought just after I got engaged, so it was more of an engagement and present to me. And I've been shooting it since September 2021, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the XS Pro in general is one of the best guns at that price range, and it's certainly served me well over the last couple of years.
Another Browning enthusiast is Gary Jones, who's shooting with the Essex Masonic Clay Association.
1 out of 4. And it's just like-minded masons who enjoy the sport, formed their own society, and we all meet up at grounds and shoot against other provinces, and it's good. I've only had this gun a couple of months, so still getting used to it. I've always shot Brownings. I had a 5.25, well, I've still got it. And then thought I'd treat myself to a 7.25. I've always liked the pro sport. I mean, you get so many, weights and triggers and so much adjustment and value for money. I mean, it shoots lovely. Yeah, I think the red course I've got about 43, and I think the black course I've got about 46, so I'm happy with that. They're deceiving, a few of them. You know, you think, oh, I can hit them all day long until you're stood in front of them.
As the week goes on, all eyes are on the huge scoreboard that takes up an entire wall of the barn. Leading the field since Monday is Olympic gold medalist and multiple world champion Richard Faulds, with an impressive 193. Last year's winner, Browning shooter Sam Green, is close with 192, but so far no one has managed to equal Richard's score. Even the legendary George Stigweed has only managed 186 against John Dyson's fiendish targets. As we go into the final day, it's all still there for the taking, and we have some top shots competing today. Phil Gray starts strongly with 96 on the black course, then powers through red, dropping just one target on the first 9 stands. It's all going so well, and then at stand 10 the wheels come off.
I just had a complete and utter brain fart, if I'm deadly honest, and switched off and wasn't thinking about what I was doing and took it for granted, and then went into panic mode. I knew I didn't have much to play with, and then let a few more slip away.
There wasn't anything particular about that target, was it?
It's not nice. It's not nice. You wouldn't choose to shoot it, but you also wouldn't have thought I'd have missed 3 of them. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, by the time you missed 3, that was it. You would.
Well, I had to straight the last 2 stands for a 192 then, so that was quite easy. Then the pressure was off.
Yeah. The next challenger for Richard's lead is Henry Collins. In the morning, he puts in a good score on what's arguably the more difficult red course.
Yeah, 96, which I was pleased with, to be fair. Missed one on the first stand and then unfortunately missed one on the last, and just a couple in the middle got away. But for the course, I was happy for what it was, and especially being a major first sort of big one of the year, I was pleased to put a decent score in first round.
Yeah. And then, of course, you had to go
the
other course.
Yeah, started off all right, and then unfortunately the wheels fell off, ran out of puff, I think. But still finished up all right, finished on 90 for a total of 186. Few light, but again, happy. First major of the year, so hopefully if I can carry on a bit of form, we should be all right.
Yeah.
So no, good shoot though.
Now tell me about the gun you were using.
Yeah, so today I've been shooting a Browning GTI trap gun, 1993, so 30 years old, still fixed 3/4 and full, and I've had it 3 weeks. So yeah, I normally shoot a Maruku, but picked this up the other week in the shop, and I thought I've just got to have it. And yeah, I've shot 2 94s with it, and then came here today and managed a 96 and a 90. So keep it up with it.
Obviously works.
Yeah, for an old gun.
What do you like about it?
To be honest with you, it just, you know when you just pick a gun up and it feels natural. You don't have any effort with it, it swings nice, the kills are good. Obviously you've got confidence with a good kill with tight chokes anyway. But I find those tight chokes are just making me focus a little bit more. Not so much on the big targets, but on those closer ones. I know I haven't got a lot of room for error. So I'm just really getting knuckled down and focusing on those targets. But no, it just swings so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so close, but yet so far. Maybe next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Sam Green not showing for a shoot-off, second place goes to Phil Gray. And Richard Faulds' 193 has proved unbeatable, winning the coveted Essex Masters trophy.
Yeah, no, delighted. It's always a good start to the year, really, to come up here, and I haven't shot it for a few years. Shot it, last time I shot it was 2 years ago. Yeah. Didn't shoot it last year, but yeah, it's nice to come up and shoot it early in the week and put in a decent score and let everyone else try and chase it. I don't mind doing it either way, you know, setting a score for people to chase it. You know, if it all goes well on the day, then great, but you know, if at the end of the day you've got to go out and chase a score, then that's always a good test as well. But you know, it's always a tough shoot to win because everyone comes to this one, and you've got to be 110%. Otherwise, if you're not, someone else will be.
For more clay shooting coverage, follow Clay Sports TV, and for more about Browning shotguns, go to browning.eu.
Thank you, James, and congratulations to Mr. Faulds. Next up, it's me. And because Charlie's in India, there's no abuse. This is Fieldsports Channel News. Basque has criticised a Welsh minister for attacking shooting in the Senedd. The Minister for Climate Change, Julie James MS, made the comments during a debate about shooting in Wales, saying, "I do not think killing anything as a sport or leisure is anything that any civilised society should support." She added, "We absolutely need to protect our ways of life and we need to protect our communities, but we also need to change our behaviour." Basque says her comments will create widespread discontent across Wales's rural communities. The Senedd was debating proposals to introduce a licensing system for the release of pheasants and red-legged partridges in Wales.
We think what the Welsh Climate Change Minister has said is absolutely appalling. This isn't about restricting the releasing of pheasants or red-legged partridges in Wales. This is about shutting down all live quarry shooting in Wales, and indeed fishing when you think of what she said. So please, please act now. Visit the BASC website and fill in a short public opinion survey to say no to the Welsh Government's proposals to restrict game bird releasing in Wales. Thank you for your support. Protect shooting.
We'll be taking an in-depth look at this issue in next week's programme. Follow the link below to have your say on the consultation on game bird releasing. Fieldsports Channel is helping a group of hunters threatening to sue anti-hunting MPs for nearly £100,000 for using their photographs without permission. Fieldsports Channel's Charlie Jacoby is representing the group demanding payment for photos used by the all-party parliamentary group report on banning trophy hunting. He's quoted in the Daily Mail saying, "If we can't get them on hate speech, we'll get them on copyright." The hunters say the photographs, which showed them posing with dead animals, were used without their consent. The group has sent invoices to Sir Roger Gale, Conservative MP for North Thanet and former chairman of the now defunct all-party group, demanding £1,200 per photograph. With 78 photographs used in the report, the total bill could reach £93,600. Charlie says if he doesn't pay up, the group will begin legal action. MPs voted in favour of the Hunting Trophies Bill, introduced by Crawley MP Henry Smith, and it's now being considered by the House of Lords. 3 people from the online Country Squire magazine are in court this week defending libel allegations brought by Chris Packham. The BBC TV presenter is taking legal action against the editor of Country Squire magazine, Dominic Whiteman, and contributors Nigel Bean and Paul Reed. Packham complains that articles in Country Squire allege he misled the public into donating to a wildlife charity to rescue tigers from circuses. The articles claim the tigers were kept in good conditions and didn't need rescuing. The trial in the High Court in London started on the 2nd of May. Packham is also taking legal action against Fieldsports Channel over separate claims. Farmers are angry that the Scottish Government is exploring the idea of reintroducing lynx. The outcry came after a reception at Holyrood where politicians, rewilding groups, scientists and landowners met to discuss reintroducing the apex predator. Farmers are calling on the Scottish Government to make a clear statement rejecting proposals to reintroduce the cats, which are known to kill over 6,000 sheep every year in Norway. Some conservationists believe bringing back lynx would benefit ecotourism and help control deer where they damage woodland. But the National Farmers Union Scotland says the idea of bringing back the lynx, bears or wolves is wholly unacceptable to those managing livestock. NFU President Martin Kennedy says those reaping any benefit from these species reintroductions are rarely the ones bearing any of the costs or negative impacts. The Countryside Alliance is urging the field sports community to be aware of antis in the local elections. It says people need to scrutinise potential councillors about their priorities for the countryside ahead of the vote on May the 4th. It comes after a string of local councils imposed bans on meat and dairy. More than 8,000 seats are being contested at 230 councils across England.
We need to make sure when we're deciding who to entrust with our vote that the candidates we go for are not going to be held in thrall to the tiny but shouty minority of activists who are the ones who are pushing these schemes.
A group set up by the Irish government is recommending sweeping changes to the Republic's firearms licensing system. Some of the proposals sound like common sense, but the Countryside Alliance in Ireland says shooters have not been properly consulted. The Firearms Expert Committee wants to bring part of the licensing system online and change the current practice of issuing individual certificates for each firearm.
We wouldn't see policies being introduced or changes made to the farming sector or others without them being present and having the ability to feed through their ideas and suggestions, especially on something that is looking at licensing at all levels and how to better improve for everyone.
Basque and other field sports groups are launching a quality assurance scheme for venison. The meat's packaging will carry a sticker which guarantees that the meat has been produced using the highest standards. The scheme aims to improve traceability of wild venison, increase bioconfidence and support woodland management initiatives in England, Northern Ireland and Wales.
They'll know it's wild, which has so many benefits, and they'll be able to know that it's gone through all that best practice and it's a really good quality meat that they're actually purchasing.
A technology tycoon has relocated a herd of Scottish red deer to his company's headquarters in Norfolk. William Sachety, who is developing self-driving cars and robots for the NHS, has released the deer into the grounds of the former RAF site at Netishead. The move is part of his plans to combine technology development and conservation. Sachety bought the deer when he discovered the herd was due to be culled. He says that working in a rural environment surrounded by wildlife will inspire his team. A new government report reveals people in the countryside spend 20% more on essentials. The all-party parliamentary group on rural business found that people in rural areas typically need to spend between 10 and 20% more on everyday requirements than those living in cities and built-up towns, despite wages being 7.5% lower. And finally, the black fox we reported on Fieldsports News has been tracked down and caught. People in the Welsh town of Barry were warned to stay away from the rare black fox, which had been on the run for 2 weeks. The animal is part of a line of silver foxes brought to the UK from North America for the fur trade in the early 1900s. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts. And you can see the full new thermal range from Scott Country by scanning this QR code. You can also see all their new stuff at the Northern Shooting Show this weekend. If you're going, have a great time. Now, as you'll have seen in news, Charlie has been working the angles to find a way of stopping the public flogging of hunters in the press. We know it impacts them, their families and businesses. He's been able to help these guys because of the support from the Fieldsports Nation membership. It means we have the resources to box clever and make these politicians playing to the cheap seats stop and think. Please support us and join the Fieldsports Nation. Do it this week and you're in with the chance of winning £100 worth of mole trapping kit. Plus, on sign up, you'll all get £25 worth of merchandise. Thank you. Next up, Andrew Venables assumes the position.
Here we are looking at zeroing rifles. Interesting thing, if I was firing without sticks, I'd stand core stable like this and shoot the target. Bang. We've got no round in at the moment. So why, when people get sticks, instead of doing this, which is simply imagining the perfect wall popped up in front of you and you're here, get a bit lower, in that perfectly stable position, why in the magazines does everyone look like this? Doesn't make any sense, because you'd never in your life take a shot with a rifle like that, would you? It doesn't look very good, does it? So, when you add sticks, you bring them to the height. You want your arse under your shoulders, not stuck out. And if the sticks are too low, you don't do this. Even at my age, you do this. You just do the splits until your arse under shoulders still in a good position. Now that's part of the story. Sticks take out the vertical wobble, but they leave you with that. Now if I was standing like this, I'm less stable. If I'm standing like that, I'm more stable. But the secret is to work with the movement. Okay, we haven't got a round in, I'll just take that out for a minute. So we're all clear. So in simple two-stick technology, you don't hold on the target and try and hold it still. What I do is I start from the left or the right, and I bring it in, and I pause and fire when it looks good. I generally work best left to right. Okay, now at 100, this looks a little bit wobbly, because that really, if you think of a DSC-1 like 40 yards, is for closer range shooting. Now we get to the magic of the quad stick. If you see some of our European friends with the quad stick, notably the people who make them, they're like this. Okay, so that is interfering with your wrist. This is almost hitting your chin, and you've destroyed the essentially good position by bending and sticking your bottom out. If we pull this back to here, now if I step into it, I can rest this on my chest. If I need to adjust the height, I can bring my legs closer together, or I can move them further apart. I call it the disco dad maneuver. Okay, kind of weird dance move, but this now is an extremely good position. I can actually rest this arm on the stick there, and I'm very stable. Get onto target, make sure you're in a neutral position, breathe in, breathe out, and make the shot. And when you reload, stay on target. Don't move. Don't do this, because that piece of brass wasn't as precious as the deer that you were just shooting at. Okay? So that basically is what it's meant to look like.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Tim. Next up, news editor Deborah has been looking at King Charles's relationship with the countryside.
A global TV audience of up to 500 million people will watch the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla on May 6th. Around 10 million will be His Majesty's loyal subjects from the British countryside. Throughout his life, the King has been loyal to them, an enthusiastic supporter of the rural way of life and many of the sports they love too.
I think it's heartening to have a monarch who understands the countryside, who is passionate about the land, the people, the food that's produced there, the country sports, the activities that go on. Yeah, I think it's really important that we have this.
As some of you may know, our own Charlie Jacoby has a side job talking about the royals on TV. On Coronation Day, he will be working for both the BBC and Fox News.
It is so important our new monarch loves the countryside and loves country people. Not just because he does, but because the job of king is to reach across all of society. In a way, it's a kind of audience management job. So you'll see him being nice to groups who are committed to destroying us too. And he comes across as a bit of a greenie, but there's no doubt that, like his mother and his eldest son, he is most comfortable with country people in an ordinary country setting.
In the southwest of England, the King developed his interest in the countryside and farming. As the Duke of Cornwall, an active manager of the duchy, owner of 135,000 acres. His Royal Highness is a regular at the Cornish Royal Show.
He sort of like came in with all his entourage and so on, swept in. Fortunately, Beatrice, my daughter who works in the shop, was also, she was actually in the marquee, and he said to her, went up to her talking away, and then he said, what do you do for a living? And she said, oh, I work in a gun shop locally. Oh, he said, well, that'd be Ian Hodges. So we were completely astounded that he had even heard of us.
Cornish gun shop owner Ian Hodge also met him at the show.
Because of being a steward, I wear a bowler hat. I think he thought I must be a little bit important or whatever, and he came up and just had a chat. But I was talking to one of his security detail there, and I said he likes this sort of place. He said he loves the agricultural shows, loves the countryside. He said he much prefers to be here as in the city, but obviously he's got to do both.
Welsh farmer Gareth Wyn-Jones met His Royal Highness when he was the Prince of Wales.
He called me the cheeky chappy with a hat. He's a really nice guy, and I think he's done a lot for farming, he's done a lot for the countryside, and I hope he carries on, you know, because he has been vocal. He hasn't been scared of rocking a few boats, and that's important. So I wish him good luck, you know, but I hope to God that he does stand up for the things that we believe in, you know, farming, the environment, shooting, hunting, fishing, because it is our God-given right, and we need to make sure that people have to understand that food doesn't come from supermarkets, it doesn't come from retailers, it comes from the land, and it comes from the people that work that land.
King Charles follows in his family's rural traditions. His father, Prince Philip, was the patron of Basque for more than half a century.
I think what we've seen with the King and his interest in the countryside, that's really important, because we have someone who not only cares about it but understands it, understands the fabric, understands the people.
Queen Elizabeth also loved country sports.
We had Her Majesty, the last Queen, who clearly everybody knew had a love of shooting, the countryside, dogs, horses, etc. And I think we're really fortunate to have that similar enthusiasm, passion in the King and the Queen.
His Majesty the King is a well-rounded countryman who's been committed to the environment, conservation, the rural way of life, and matters of genuine importance to our countryside and rural communities for many years.
His Majesty shares his mother's love of horses and dogs.
King Charles III has long been an advocate of the countryside and country sports in general. A rounded countryman with interest in hunting, shooting and fishing, often showing real concern for our rural communities.
And it's because of His Majesty's years of service not only to our countryside and nation but to our Commonwealth too, that the Countryside Alliance extends its warmest and best wishes to His Majesty on the day of his coronation. And we extend our best wishes to the Queen Consort, herself a committed countrywoman.
The coronation of Charles III and his wife Camilla will anoint them as King and Queen of the United Kingdom and 14 other countries around the world. And the Fieldsports community will gain a royal couple who share a love of country life and are passionate about protecting it.
Thank you, Deborah. Now, if King Charles fancies his chances of winning a clay competition, Ian Hodge thinks he can't go far wrong with one of these.
If you've got a bit of skill and you're fairly good with the shooting, once you get a better gun, I suppose it's like a better car, it will improve you. There's no getting away from that, as long as it fits you. Well, we got the Beretta 694, came out a few years ago now. It's similar to the DT range. It's a cheaper version of the DT10 and the 11, really. Obviously, it's not the same because it's not 3 times the money. But it's got some features there that is similar, which people like, and it handles really well. And we've now got adjustable stock ones now come in only this week. And then we got the Browning Pro Sport. This one's got the adjustable stock, which we're finding more and more people are asking for now. It just gives them the option of, and it does make a difference. It's just to raise up the the comb a little bit or move it left or right. A person wouldn't have one of each of these, they'd have one or the other, and it would be a Brett or it would be a Browning. They feel and handle differently, and again, it's what you're comfortable with. It is a big step for people money-wise. But if you're taking your shooting seriously and you do want to win and compete well, then this is where you need to get to, really. You could take this all the way up to the top, and people do. These are real good professional guns. This actually is a gun, the same model of gun that Amy Eastman won the World Championship with a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And reliability, is there anything wrong with the reliability?
Very few issues at all now with the Browning and Berettas. They all got a very decent warranty on them. For the money, you get a tremendous gun, which is up there with the top guns in the country and what the top shooters use. It's not cheap, but it's certainly not. It's not a fortune.
From Cornwall to the rest of the world and hunting YouTube with James Marchington.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. First up this week, this film has really taken off, getting 1.5 million views in just 10 days. A Texas farmer has had enough of feral pigs and goes after them with a variety of military weapons, including a truck-mounted M134 minigun. It's not what we'd call sporting, but it's certainly effective. Professional kangaroo hunter Dave from Australia is on a busman's holiday, taking his family out into the swamps in an American-style airboat to hunt wild boar with his dogs. The Ed Gun channel is ramping up the firepower, shooting squirrels with a 9mm airgun that delivers over 100 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. As you might expect, it produces some impressive kills. Here's an American hunter who's built what might just be the world's most luxurious high seat, which he'll be using to shoot coyotes that come after his livestock. He's even installed a TV, a hammock and a fire for cold weather. In the Midwest, Mindak Outdoors is trying calling raccoons for the first time, and it works a treat, bringing them in range of his semi-auto shotgun. Calling up a different type of predator, Free Range American is in Alaska, where they call in 2 grizzly bears, a bit close for comfort. Back to the UK, and Predator Protection takes his 1.7 HMR out for an evening rabbit shooting session, shooting with a bipod off the car bonnet at around 100 yards. And finally, here's a beautifully made video of Browning's official shooting team smashing some flash clays, featuring Britain's Amy Eastman, Josh Bridges, Sam Green, Billy Bourne and Chris Childerhouse. That's it for this week. We've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email Charlie the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Thank you for watching. Normal service will resume next week.